Hello and welcome to episode 40 of the Red Mile podcast. I'm Cameron Woolridge. I'm sitting down with my co-host and brother Nathan Woolridge. How's it going?
Pretty damn good right now. How about you?
I'm feeling very good. It's almost like we haven't been able to do a very positive podcast like the one we're about to do for a long time, maybe 2019.
Yeah.
It seems like every episode has a little bit of negativity to it, but now we're back. So we're going to dive into this little 5-game road trip to the eastern side of the United States that the Flames have just wrapped up. As it sits right now, it is just following that 4-0 shutout over the Pittsburgh Penguins. So yeah, we're going to kick it off there, and we'll kind of go back to the start of this road trip here, all the way back to Detroit. I didn't get to watch that game, so I'll let you kind of break that one down, give your thoughts on that one.
Well, it's a lot of the road trip for me has like kind of blurred a lot together because it's been a very similar style, but I feel like they've just gotten I believe they kicked off this road trip with a shutout, but they progressively got better in a lot of ways, right? Things that they weren't doing in that first game, they were definitely doing by the end of this road trip. And um they played some pretty top-notch teams, right? With some pretty stellar, pretty stellar players, and I think overall through this whole road trip, the penalty kill has been unreal. Goaltending has been a huge factor, but also the Flames have been able to score goals, which is something that a lot of really negative people thought they weren't going to be able to do under Daryl Sutter. So there's a lot happening here, and I just kind of bring up the games, but they've just continued to just shock us, right? Every single game of this road trip. You missed a majority of them there, and I think by the end, when you when you were able to watch tonight's game, you were nervous, but they were able to pull it out. So, yeah, beating the Red Wings 3-1, 3-0, Rangers 5-1, and then 4-0 against the Penguins. Like, there's been some great games. Capitals 4-3, Devils 5-3. Like, those were a couple of the closest games. One OT win, but the rest all regular game shit kickings.
Yeah, so I missed every game up until this last one against the Penguins. I ended up having to watch them all on demand on the Sportsnet app after. And I gotta say, I've been impressed the whole way through. Even the close one with Washington, the second game there going to overtime, they came out strong in the first and got up 3-0 and let off the gas. And I mean, Dan Vladar played great in the 2 games he got. And I'm glad he got 2 games out of this road trip, as
Yeah.
he hasn't played a whole lot in the NHL when we got him, and to give him those reps and to prove that the small sample size that he had in Boston is true, that he is a good NHL backup.
Yeah.
So that was great to see. A lot more confidence going forward this season from that.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
I'll kind of just interject here, like right now, because we haven't really ever done an episode after a game, so my brain's just going like a million miles per second. I feel like there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on, but I want to go to that. The goaltending matchups. I think that was a big surprise for everyone in general. That Vladar got the starts that he did, but so early into the season, and helping break up Markstrom a little bit. I think it's been proven to be quite successful here early on. What do you think is kind of working for that? And I mean, you kind of felt like Vladar was going to be a good asset to the Flames, anyways. But to actually see this play out in a perfect way so far, um, it's not something we're really used to.
yeah, I think the most how should I put this? The best thing about Vladar is that he is a backup. There's no controversy here. We have a starter and a backup. There's been a big thing in the NHL lately with the 1A, 1B. It works in some cases. Sometimes it works against you. I feel like with the Flames, it's in 2019, it worked for us with Smith and Riddick. Talbot and Riddick didn't quite work. They both were good individually. They didn't make each other better. Now we have Markstrom. He knows he's the starter. Vladar knows he's the backup. They know their roles. They play their roles. And Vladar is a very good goaltender, as we've seen on this road trip. He let in, 3 goals in both games that he played, but he got the win in both of them. And there was a few shaky goals, but at the end of the day, behind a Sutter team that is taking care of their own end first, he has thrived. And then it has given Markstrom the time to rest that he needs on a 5-game road trip, to the point that he played 3 games, let in 1 goal. So he had a shutout, 1 goal against, shutout. And that's because of proper goaltending management and having a good, solid backup goalie that you can toss in for those 2 games. Some other teams, if they went on a 5-game road trip, they'd have to play their starter 4 games. He'd be burnt out and lose one of those, and their backup would probably drop one of those. And they'd come out with probably 3 wins. But the Flames were able to pull off a 5-game winning streak on the road because of the way we managed our goaltenders, and our scorers came to score. But we'll get to that in a bit. I would say that the way Sutter managed the goaltenders on this trip was perfect, and Dan Vladar is definitely our guy to be the backup to Markstrom, and it's proven to be a good move that we made over the offseason.
Another big factor to this team is that, coming into the season, we knew that this team was going to be more defensive and be able to help out those goaltenders, especially under Daryl Sutter. With the departure of Mark Giordano, there was a lot of questioning if that back end was going to be able to keep things up. But you look at these scores, and we'll get to the forwards after about them being able to produce points. But there's been a lot of good things keeping the puck out of the net, right? And so we just talked about that stellar goaltending. On this road trip, an interesting thing happened, and I'll use tonight's game that we're just kind of coming off of. Hanifin was out with an upper body injury, just day-to-day right now. We don't have a lot of details about that. But instead of opting to bring Zadorov back in, they opted to bring in Michael Stone. So, the games that Zadorov was out and Shillington was in, the Flames seemed to excel really, really, really well. And we saw each game Shillington get better and better and more comfortable playing, to the point where he, I feel like, has solidified a spot in the top 4 of this team's defense. And we saw tonight just some excellent playing from him. So, what are your thoughts on the whole defense situation? We've been huge Shillington advocates for a long time, and now to see it actually playing out the way that we would have hoped. But we do have a lot of money tied up in Zadorov, who's a guy that I'm not sure where he fits back into this whole thing now that they've found all this success.
Yeah, it's a shame how much money we have tied up in Zadorov because of that reason. But at the same time, it's never too bad of a thing to have 7 defensemen that can play the game. At any given night, I think you can throw Zadorov in and he's going to be okay. But it is awesome and a breath of fresh air to see Shillington being used on this team and to succeed in that role. Tonight against the Penguins, he's made some great plays. He really stood out. And honestly, like, just if you haven't really paid attention to Shillington, I know me and you have, because we're huge fans of him, have been ever since the Flames drafted him. But take a second and watch how this guy skates. He is one of the best skaters in the league, and now that he's being utilized, it's really showing. The plays he's making because of the way he can get to different parts of the ice is fantastic to watch, and I'm glad that he's finally been put in as like a main part of this defense core. And I think he's just going to keep getting better the more we play him, right? He's one of those guys that he's just going to keep learning. Every once in a while, he'll make a mistake, but that's part of the growing pains. The same way Valimaki makes mistakes, and we're all kind of like, that's fine because he's a young player, and he shows the promise that he's going to be a good defenseman for this hockey club. So that's kind of where I sit with that, and it's too bad that we are paying what we are for Zadorov, but it is what it is, right? We thought we had to make that move to get better, and it's just not panning out that way. But later down the line, we get a defensive injury, and he does have to come in. He's gonna be decent back there. So that's kind of where I sit with that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually quite surprised at where the Flames defense is at the moment. Like, we've seen Anderson step up on the power play. It's been just really cool to see everyone kind of working up to potential, and hopefully Hannafin is able to come back pretty soon. He's only day to day, so that's pretty optimistic. The good thing is that even without him, the Flames pull off a 4-0 win over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Um, so now let's talk about this before we get, too much out of time. But one of the reasons that the Flames were able to find success during this road trip, and I'll remind you, they went 5-0 on the road trip before returning to home for Hockey Night in Canada this weekend. A big thing was especially three players who showed up in a huge way. But before we get to those guys, I want to talk about someone who, in just 6 games with the Flames, has 3 goals and has kind of was a huge addition, probably the number one addition to the Flames in quite a long time, I would say. And that is Blake Coleman. This guy is adding something to this team, and it's not just goals. It seems like it's leadership. But he's 3 for 6 for goals in games right now. He's looking great. This road trip looked like he was really getting comfortable with his line mates, getting really comfortable with the team, the roster, and stuff. So I want to get your thoughts on what Pickle's been able to do so far, and how excited you are about what this means for the rest of the season.
Yeah, Pickles. He's one of those guys I've been a fan of in the league for a while now. And now here he is. At the start of the season, you're like, man, the biggest off-season pickup we got was Blake Coleman. But now it's kind of like the biggest pickup we had this summer was Blake Coleman, because he's been performing, and he's a great player. He's been fun to watch. It's not like it was a bad thing that we signed him, when you're saying like, oh, that's the biggest signing we made. It was just that, like, we were hoping for a lot more to happen this summer, and that ended up being the biggest thing. But it has been huge for this team. He brings so much to the table. He's not the hugest guy, but he plays a big game. That's something I like from him. He doesn't shy away from those dirty areas. Like you said, he has scored those 3 goals already, and he's looking good at putting the puck on net. And that experience of just coming off back-to-back Stanley Cups, that's something that you can't find on a stat sheet, right? Any guy, whether big part of it low part of it, if you've won a Stanley Cup, you bring something to the table, especially coming off back-to-back cups and then leaving that city to come here. And by his own choice, because he was a free agent signing. So there's something here that he sees, and he brings something to the table for us that, there's that hunger in him to go for a third one. And that's really something that you can't see on the stat sheet, like I said. So I'm happy that he's here. Big fan already. Like, geez, break the bank. There's so many guys on the team this year that I want to get their jersey for. But yeah, it's been great to have him, and I'm looking forward for the rest of the season. It seems like the biggest payoff out of, bringing in guys like James Neal, that didn't pay off. Troy Brouwer didn't really pay off, but those were guys that were looked at as they're going to make this team better, and they didn't. And now Blake Coleman comes in, you're like, oh, is this going to be the same situation? And so far, it is not. He looks great, and Brad did a good thing here by signing him this offseason.
Well, yeah, it definitely seems like he finally got it right with that type of player, a two-way player, right, who's just going to help you out in that top six and really do some damage. And I think James Neal wasn't able to get it done. I think it was due to a lot of lack of chemistry with the team. And I think with Blake Coleman, it seems like it's quite the opposite. So finally, something like that has worked out for the Flames, something that they needed, and something that someone that's filling that spot perfectly. If you're an advanced stats person, you're looking at Blake Coleman. I mean, this is a guy who's playing really well defensively as well, and is also generating a lot of chances. And you're also noticing him a lot out there too. So, just all around, just a huge pickup for this team. And, it's weird to say because we're going to get onto some guys who are also doing fucking really, really good. But one of the main differences to this team from last year to this year is Blake Coleman. And I think, like we said, leadership, attitude, like you said, he brings that experience. I think that's been a huge, just a huge change for this team. And I'm really excited to see what he does for the rest of the year because I'm really liking what I'm seeing early on. Like it's been fantastic. It's kind of hard to know which person to talk about because we've seen some pretty stellar performances. So I'll just run through it, but I'll let you talk about some of these guys, and we'll probably talk about them for quite a bit here. But right off the bat, Johnny Cadreau, wow, great start to the season. He looks like a whole new, more mature player, and we saw him elevating that a little bit last year, but wow, taking it to a whole new level this year. He's in the top 10 for points, just got his first goal, and, just getting the apples all day long, right? This guy has just been setting up people left, right, and center. He's been definitely setting up a certain someone, Elias Lindholm, who has been a goal-scoring machine, especially on this road trip. And you have Mongiapani, who's right up there with Lindholm, who's just been tearing it up. These guys are not just leading the Calgary Flames in goals and points. Like I mentioned, Johnny Gaudreau is in that top 10 for points and has, I believe, just the one goal. And Lindholm and Mongiapani with 7 goals each. Why don't you kind of dive into that a little bit? These are two guys that are really hardworking, super skilled players. Flames fans love and adore them, and we have for years. But there's something about this year where both guys are on a completely other level that we knew they were going to be good, but I don't think we anticipated that they were going to be this good.
Yeah, so I'll start with Johnny Goudreau. We'll go there. He is going to get over 100 points this year for the first time in his career. He's on another level. He's right now 1 goal, 9 assists, 10 points to lead the team. He's a +6. He's on another level right now.
And 500 NHL points, hit the milestone the other night, which is huge
500
too.
NHL points. That was awesome to see. That's just the thing about Johnny Gaudreau. He's always been good, but he's been predictable. This year, he's not. He's getting to different areas. He's doing different things, and he's getting the puck to people. That's obvious by his 9 assists. Glad he finally got that goal tonight. That was good to see, and it was beautiful. Breakaway bar down. That's what you want the top player on your team to be able to do, and he did it. And there's going to be many more to come for him this year because he's just getting to the right spots on the ice, and he's moving the puck so well. So that's why I wanted to start with Cadreau, because he's making so much happen for this team right now, and it's really showing in his points. Sometimes he's done a lot of things for this team, and it doesn't show up in the points, or he's doing not a lot and his points are kind of subpar for what we've been paying him. But so far this year, he is top notch, doing everything properly, and it's paying off for him. So now I'm going to move on to Elias Lindholm, second on the team in points right now. 7 goals, 1 assist. So the flip side of Johnny Goudreau. That's pretty sweet. 7 goals, 1 assist. That's pretty solid. This guy just he knows how to finish. That's something that this team needs, is a guy that can do that, and he's really doing it this year. He's done it ever since he got to Calgary, but it's picked up a notch here in this first part of the season. So I'm happy to see that for him. And plus, what a man rocket. That guy's gorgeous. We're not worthy of that guy. But yeah, he's playing a great game. He's a +8. So he's looking really good right now. And the biggest impressor on the team, Andrew Mongiapani. Incredible. So not right now sitting at the top of the league, but he was for a bit there, first in the league for goals, with the previously mentioned Elias Lindholm. But yeah, 7 goals, 0 assists. So he's putting the puck in the net, and that's all you can hope for coming off of a good off season for him, where he became the MVP of the World Championship, and he's just been slowly progressing ever since he hit the league. He's a little dude, but he plays big game. He doesn't back down from anything, and that's why he scores goals. He goes to the dirty areas and he toughs it out, and the puck comes to him and he bangs it in. And he scored some beautiful goals too. It's not even just those garbage ones. Some of them he's making good moves, getting around the defenseman, the goaltender.
Yeah, this is
He's
some
burying
top
it.
tier elite stuff going on
It
here
is
right now.
incredible what we're seeing between Elias Lindholm and Andrew Mongiapani, goal scoring wise.
Yeah,
They are
quality and quantity all
they
around.
are taking it to the league, and it's fun to see. And
Yep.
it's rubbing off on the rest of the team, right? Like Dylan Dubé right now is sitting 4th on the team in points because he has 5. He
Yeah.
has a goal and 4 assists. Milan Lucic has found the back of the net twice, 2 games in a row, going 5-hole. Like, it's just starting to rub off. Everyone's
Yeah.
getting the goal scoring bug, and it's working.
Things are happening.
Yeah, I hope it starts rubbing off on Kachuk more, because he's actually been playing very good this year. A big step from last year where it wasn't really his year.
Yeah.
And
He's right there.
the puck's going to start going in. Right now he has 2 goals, 2 assists, but I wouldn't be surprised that a month from now he's up there with Cadreau, Lindholm, and Mongiapani, kind of in the same point range. So it's going to come. He's getting to the right spots. Puck's going to go in the net. It's just how it works. You can't be in a slump forever, right? So that's kind of my 2 cents on the forward lines. Is there anybody else that's really standing out for you up front?
I think that top line is super solid, and I think Kachuk, obviously, Not there points wise, but he is there because, a lot of what he does, the little things, is still opening up a lot of space. And obviously his line mates, Cadreau and Lindholm, are having huge success, and they wouldn't be able to do that if he was playing bad and was kind of being a dead weight. So he's definitely slow, kind of a slow start points wise, but like you were saying, he's doing really well. I think it's gonna come. It's just a matter of time, and there's a couple home games coming up. He's a huge energy guy. If the fans show up after a 5-0 road trip and kind of fill the Saddledome and get things pumping, maybe this can continue, and that's something that Kachuk is really good at kind of going off of that energy. Um, like I said earlier, there's so many things going through my mind right now. One big thing is this road trip was kind of monumental in the fact that we haven't seen the Flames play this great in a string of games for such a long period of time. But we also have not seen many teams in the last 2 or 3 decades have a road trip of this success. NHL stats just shared that the Calgary Flames just became the third team in NHL history to sweep a road trip of 5+ in games that they never trailed once. The last team to do it was St. Louis in 2017, and before that, it was Chicago in 1996. You know, so it's not just been a great road trip, it's been a historical road trip. And you think about a team who started almost nearly a week later than the rest of the NHL, had a couple rocky games right off the start, and then very quickly just pulled a 180 and just took it and flew. This is kind of crazy to see this unfolding. The Flames were quite bottom of the barrel in the standings just because they were behind in games played, and have very quickly rocketed to the top of the league. This is a team that I think is surprising a lot of people because us ourselves, we didn't think that they were going to be finding any of this kind of success. And you know what? They can come back here on Saturday and lose that game, but you can't take away from them that this was just a killer, stellar road trip where was it perfect all the way around? No, but they learned from their mistakes. Their compete level, consistency got better over time. And this is where, and this is probably our next conversation, this is where Daryl Sutter does his thing, right? You're slowly seeing it seep throughout the whole team, and things are happening. What are your thoughts on where things are? Because I think there was a perceived notion that this was going to be a bit of a boring team by the league overall, by hockey fans, and by Flames fans as well. But this road trip just proved that that's very much not the case, and that this team is a competitor already, and they can get better from here.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna circle back before I answer that question. There was something that was in my mind about Johnny Gaudreau and his assists, and I was wondering how many of them were primary assists. So of his 8 assists, they were all primary except for one. So so that's pretty incredible. You don't see that too often where a guy's big bulk of his points are from the primary assists, and it's pretty cool to see that he's the guy that's getting the puck to the right areas. But yeah, so like you said, with the Daryl Sutter type of hockey, yeah, including myself, I wasn't sure if we were going to be a goal scoring team. And it didn't look like it after the first 2 games where we had 90 shots on goal and we only scored 4. It didn't look great. I posted on Twitter that, hey, let's go get a goal scorer right now, because we're not going to score goals this year. And boy, did they prove me wrong. We lost the first game 5-2. Lost the home opener in overtime, so that wasn't too bad. Still picked up a point, and there hasn't been a game since where we didn't get a point. So 3-0, 4-3, 5-1, 5-3, 4-0 wins on that road trip. So goal scoring has not been a problem. I think that's something that's kind of overlooked with Daryl Sutter hockey is that it's defensive, it's take care of your own zone, but if you have the opportunity, he's going to give you the green light, right? Like he knows that when you're in a position to score, you're going to score. And taking care of your own zone gets you to the right spots to score. So it is a bit surprising, but at the same time it shouldn't be, because we've seen his teams before be able to put up decent amount of goals, but you kind of get lost in that idea of a defensive team. But that's the thing, defensive teams do score goals because the puck's not in your zone. You have puck possession in the O zone. And it is working for this Flames team right now. So to put up those big numbers on the road trip, hopefully it follows them home back to Calgary, and the Sea of Red will be rocking with that. That'll be pretty sweet to have a few games like that go on back home, as we have the stand of Philadelphia, Nashville, Dallas, New York, Rangers, and San Jose all straight at home before we hit the road again. So that's some good time to recharge the batteries, pick up a few W's, and head back out.
I hate to do this, but I'm really going to stat dump right now because I'm just reading some stuff and I'm just getting real excited about this. So a lot of these are from Sportsnet stats. I want to run through. If any of these stand out to you and you got something to say, just hop right on in here. But Johnny Gaudreau now has 31 points, 7 goals, and 24 assists in his last 23 games. 31 points in 23 games. That is just pure ecstasy. Michael Backlund tonight also became the 19th player in Flames history to hit 400 career points. And as we mentioned, Cadreau just hit the 500-point milestone. Jacob Markstrom became the first Flames goalie in history to record a shutout in Pittsburgh. It's the... Wait. Okay, I'm just going to move on from that. So this is the first time the Flames have had this good of a road trip since December of 2007, where they went 6-0 on a road trip. Jacob Markstrom had 45 saves. It's the most in a shutout by a Flames goalie since the franchise moved to Calgary. Like this, when you're reading this, it's just like, whoa, there's kind of something magical at play here. Am I kind of just like overreacting because I'm super jazzed, or does some of those stats really just like come out and hit you in the face and be like, whoa, this is a pretty stellar hockey team on the go right now, and especially Markstrom. With a couple of those milestones in the franchise and stuff, just from tonight, it's kind of something special at play here.
Yeah, everything's clicking. Those stats should get you excited if you're a Flames fan. We haven't had something to get this excited about since that run we had a couple years ago. And we were all kind of on cloud nine because it seemed like every night there was something new franchise-wise that hadn't happened in years or never happened. And now it's kind of happening again. I don't want to get too ahead of myself because, we're only shortly into this season so far, but everything's kind of going so well right now that you can't help but be excited about it. So you reading off those stats, I'm just amazed that, like, here we are. This is happening again. We kind of weren't sure if this was going to happen for a while after what happened last year. It was a big drop off, and we were kind of, there was a lot to worry about. And so now to hear all that is happening for us again, it really validates that contract given to Daryl Sutter to come in and coach. He's turned this team around in a short amount of time, relatively. Like, everyone was kind of concerned last year, but at the same time, he didn't have time to build this team the way he wanted. He didn't have the expectations ingrained in the players' minds that he does now. He's had a preseason, a training camp with them. Some players, he had time with them last year. And now that expectation is well known, and I think it's really starting to work for this team. We're playing a certain way of hockey. We have our brand now, and it's really working for the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, totally. I was also reading that Goudreau is just this might have changed after tonight. I'm not sure if this is posted before or after, but it says Cadreau is now 4 points away from passing Gary Roberts for 9th in franchise scoring. So that's pretty cool. He's probably 3 now, if that has changed, or it could be just that. But we've talked a lot about a lot of the things that are going right. But I'm going to point out too that we kind of touched on this. Tkachuk is not really getting the points as you would expect. If he starts going, that's a bit of a game changer. Another wild card is if Sean Monahan is able to lift off here a little bit. This team is doing this well without a Tkachuk who is scoring a lot of goals and also a Sean Monahan who has been pretty invisible. So that's quite impressive because those guys do have a chance to just turn on the Jets at any point. Sean Monahan is 3 points away from 600 career points. So, I don't want to completely give up on him either. There's still some time, and, he might be just taking a little more time than the rest of the team. But I think the way that the lines and the minutes are right now are kind of reflective of who's kind of playing well and who isn't. But there's still a lot of time for some different things to happen here, and that's kind of exciting to think about. So I'm just kind of in a little bit of a shock that this went down so early in the season. I got to tell you, after the first couple games, it was kind of starting to get a little bit scary. Now there's a little bit of hope. There's a little bit of like, okay, this is kind of interesting. Like, this team is, for me, the most important piece is that I feel like they're still getting better. And it's just good that at the same time that they're making small improvements and incrementally getting better, that they're also winning games during that period of trying to figure things out. And there's still some things to figure out, but I think the power play is like an area that they can get better at. The penalty kill has been phenomenal, probably one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
This team is out shooting by leaps and bounds. I think ahead of tonight, they were the third highest shots per game in the league. And at first, in the first few games, when we had 40 plus shots, it was kind of like, okay, we're getting a lot of shots, but we're not scoring a lot of goals. And now during this road trip, things have kind of changed, right? So it's really interesting how things have been progressing here.
Yeah, so I kind of want to touch on the Monahan thing. It's a shame that he's not performing on the level as the other guys, because he was part of that 70-point club a few years ago where we had 5 players over 70 points, and now it's been a drop off, and largely in part to injuries and the mismanagement of his injuries. So I kind of hope he rebounds here, because there is a potential to have a club like that again with almost the same players, except for obviously Giordano's gone now, but there are at least 3 or 4 players on this team that I think can have 70 plus points this season, and that would be super cool to have again, because hell, that season was one of the best things we've ever watched. So not to get ahead of ourselves, but I do think he can turn around. It's definitely plenty of time, but it needs to start clicking soon. Just because like the longer you go, the harder it is, right? Monahan's not the type of player that should only have 1 point when his team is doing so good. He should, just by mistake, have at least 3 points, right? So I think there's definitely something wrong there that needs to be addressed,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully it comes around soon, because both of us, we're big fans of Monahan, and we want the best for him. So hopefully things start to hopefully starts to turn it around here, and joins the rest of the team with the success they're having.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm just seeing now Daryl Sutter for the Pittsburgh game is just saying, he just said that our goalie was outstanding. Absolutely. Goaltending has been huge, especially on this road trip. And we're likely going to see that continue. And also Markstrom for Vesna. Um, Markstrom said that the shutout was definitely a team shutout, which is really nice because you know what? I think he's right. Like he earned the shutout. He had some incredible saves, just some mind blowing saves. But the team overall was really, really solid, and they really worked well together. But he really kept them in there. It could have easily been a pretty close hockey game without him. But it was just good that the guys in front of him were able to get out and score some goals. So I think, I wrote on my little sticky note, I wrote down Shillington, Markstrom, Goudreau, Mongiapani, Lindholm, Vladar. That's kind of the top guys I wanted to talk about, and I feel like we covered them pretty well. I just wanted to close this off. I know this has been a super exciting episode. We're super excited. We really want this to continue, and we're gonna keep showing our enthusiasm. Like Cameron opened up this episode, it's really amazing to be watching this. The Flames have not been this good in quite a while, and it's just really great to see. But I just want to quickly maybe close out on more of a serious note, if that's okay. Um, we're going right now through this process as like a collective group of fans, and we didn't really plan on talking about this, but I think it's important. Um, I think definitely hockey culture as a whole, like, really needs to go through an overhaul and a change. It's something that Cameron and I has been talking a lot about for quite some time with a lot of things that's been happening, even just throughout the past few years. But it's definitely become clear, and maybe it's weird that it hasn't really come as a surprise to many of us because I think we know that hockey can be quite toxic and quite and have a lot of low points to it. But we just want to make sure that as a group of us, we're just pushing and challenging and putting in that work to try and make hockey a better place, a safer space for every single person. And we got to have those like really tough, uncomfortable conversations with each other. That comes from the fans. We need to put more pressure on the NHL itself to be better and to do better. The processes are not working. That's very clear, and it's been super tough few days for a lot of us going through all these emotions, and we just want to say like to people who like are victims of these type of thing, like we're always gonna believe you first and foremost, and we've got to start supporting people. We got to start doing a better job of listening. But like I said, we got to start a better job of having those processes to ensure that the game is getting better. And I'm kind of quite frankly sick of how the NHL has handled this, not just for the past decade, but even just in the past 24 hours or so. It's kind of a mess, and it's a very clear picture that things haven't changed over this period of time, and it's quite disappointing. So I think we need to push, do the work, support people, be kind, be respectful, and try to make a change, because hockey's a game. We love the game. We have a lot of problems, I think, right now with the culture of that game behind closed doors, and sometimes not behind closed doors. And we just want to try and make it better so that everyone can enjoy it. Everyone can be a fan. Everyone can have fun. This is supposed to be something to be enjoyed, and we've just got to make a huge change. We got to change the culture, and it starts with all of us making that collective decision.
Yeah, for sure. And off of that, I'll say to Kyle Beach, we're super proud of you for coming forward and kind of fighting your battle, and we definitely support you and hope the right things come out of this for you, the league, hockey as a whole, because at the end of the day, what happens at the NHL trickles down to the grassroots level, as it's the number one stage for the sport, and we want it to be a better place for everybody. I'm also sorry that your teammates that you had back in the day aren't being teammates to you, because my teammates growing up are some of the best brothers I've ever had, and it sucks to see that none of them did anything for you. So we're sorry for that, and we're super proud of you.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point that you made, is that it's a huge team sport. It's supposed to be that way. And we're starting to find out that a lot of people knew a lot of things. And we see this at every level of hockey. And quite frankly, it's really heartbreaking. And it sucks that it takes something like this to really push the game forward. But we just got to try and do better all the time. So, yeah, I think that's huge. And thank you so much for bringing that up. So I think, yeah, that's it from us tonight on our little bit of a last minute excitement. We just won a game. Last minute episode where we were scrambling a little bit because we're just so excited. There's a lot going on here. We definitely weren't expecting the Flames to go off like this. So thank you so much for joining us on our 40th episode. I can't believe that we've reached that milestone. That seems like it's been a long time coming. And I want to say thank you, Cameron, for being such a great brother and great host. And this has been great.
Yeah, it's awesome to be at 40 with you. We've started a lot of things in our lives and didn't really go through with them, and this thing has really stuck. So I'm happy to be doing this podcast with you and cheering on the Flames, and it's a good time to be a Flames fan right now. So that's the perfect note to end this thing on.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you soon.